Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.
If you have that option, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're going to be needing to put some of this into use here because really hot conditions are anticipated here for us as we head through the remainder of the week. Big ridge of high pressure that's in place here for us. Underneath that ridge, you get that general sinking motion in the atmosphere. And as that happens, it compresses and can heat up like that.
Yeah.
But, Jen, it's not just the heat. We've got a lot of moisture around.
Yeah.
So that combining the two.
Yeah. I mean, this makes it worse. It's one thing to have high temperatures, but when you combine that with dew points that are up in the 70s, the feels like skyrockets. And we've got actually that concern for the high heat index all the way up into North Dakota, where you might not have the high dew points, but you actually have the really extreme temps, like 100 plus.
That's where we've got these alerts that are in place. Portions of Montana dealing with excessive heat warnings. Then we've got the advisories. Those are the areas in that orange, that extending all the way into parts of the lower Mississippi Valley. So it's pretty widespread when we're talking about some of this heat.
I bet you we'll see that expand in the south too in the coming days as we see those numbers go up. And this is one of the most important graphics I feel like we can show you, the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. I mean, heat exhaustion, obviously not fun. You have to take caution and care for it, but heat stroke is deadly. So there's a lot of differences too, because when you have heat exhaustion, you might be lightheaded compared to heat stroke, when actually you might have a throbbing headache. So some differences feeling there.
Yeah, so you start talking about some of those heat stroke signs. That's time where emergency medical situation there, calling the ambulance, calling 911, because you're really on the precipice of potentially dying in that situation.
Right, and so certainly important for athletes, kids and adults here. A lot of kids are out at camps for the summer, but Alex, you're telling us football training's about to start, too.
That is training, yeah. We got all kinds of sporting activity, of course, going to the baseball game here. Phillies and the Nationals going at it there in Philly. It's going to be a warm, muggy time as we work our way through this evening hour. So lots of sunshine beaming down. You're in the stands. Maybe you don't have the seats in the shade. And even in the shade, it's still going to be pretty nasty. Hydrated without beer.
I know
it's hard to do, but water.
All right, so we also have the Pirates home hosting the Brewers, and today we've got, not a bad forecast, right? Temperature's going to be in the upper 80s, but because it is so humid, it's going to feel worse. It's toughest for the folks playing, but even tough if you're outside working and even just sitting in the sun. I know, feel like you're not doing anything. You're still out there and dealing with the heat, and your body still has to process it.
Absolutely. Of course, training camps starting to open up here for some of the NFL teams, and we'll start you off in Atlanta. Flowery Branch is where they get it going. You can see the forecast for the day, keeping things on the quiet side here for us, but we could see an isolated storm or two getting through this evening. I know a lot of these camps, they open up some of the practices to the public, and that'll be happening over the coming days. All
right, Houston, it's going to be in the 90s. It will be hot and humid. We'll be right back after this.
Again today.
There you go. All right. The big deal that we have going on is all these storms, though, and rainbow chances coming in across the Northeast and Midwest. So we got a couple of fronts. One comes east, another one, though, ready to go, sinking south, dropping down across the northern plains into the upper Midwest here. And that second one will, I think, bring sort of quite a blast of weather with it. And also some cooler and drier air, too, behind it. And you'll see that in the Northeast. We keep getting these fronts, so we never really get the big heat that you're going to see elsewhere in the country this week, or even the next 2 weeks. But we do get the storms. And so today it's possible severe weather with damaging winds, the most likely threat, perhaps blasting right along that I-90 corridor. That's going to be the main threat area. This goes through tomorrow morning, where we could see heavy rainfall too, and that could bring the threat of flooding or flash flooding. We also have another round of storms that's going to develop overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, and then that gives us a renewed threat for storms in Minnesota and again in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where I know it's stormy right now. We've got more coming our way actually into tomorrow too, and that extends into Michigan and even back down into parts of the Ohio Valley as we get through the day on Wednesday. So it's going to be a busy storm track here, Alex, with these fronts coming in across the area.
There with the clouds, you can also see it on radar. It's one of the things when you see that coming towards you, you may be thinking, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Well,
you feel the wind kick up.
Wind kick up, it gets a little cooler as well. And then the skies unload with the rain showers and storms.
So here's how it all happens and comes together. You got the updraft that feeds into the thunderstorm, and that's a lot of rising air, but you've got all this rain kind of suspended in the storm until it's not.
Yeah, and it just rushes down towards the surface, and it leads to sort of a cooling that takes place. So you get this boundary that moves out away from the thunderstorm, almost acts like a mini cold front. And what it does is actually lifts up the air out ahead of it. You get clouds forming, and that's what that leading edge is, that shelf-looking cloud. You get that, and oftentimes they can also spark off new thunderstorms.
New thunderstorms. And we can see this on the radar, actually, which is one of the coolest things to look at. Meteorologists, if you've watched us, we get obsessed when we see them on the radar. So this is from Tallahassee, actually, last Sunday. And where you see these skinny little lines, here's one right here. That's the outflow boundary that came through out of that thunderstorm. You see it sort of blasting. Got to be patient. There it is right there. And you notice how we kind of get new thunderstorms that erupt right on the edge of that.
Yeah, pretty cool. And again, the thing about these boundaries is oftentimes they can be left around, even once the storms are done, they're left around, then they can be a focal point for new storms to develop the next day. Yeah,
I think in Atlanta, yesterday we had a number of these outflow boundaries coming out, and I bet there are going to be spots that we see some of the first thunderstorms of today go. This little one, I mean, this is like a nothing storm, right? But then you see just a little bit of an outflow boundary come out of it right there, dissipates, and it's probably still sitting there right now. Another one came out of this storm, too. So you've got Douglasville storm develops, and then boundary out of it. Right there. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So visually you can see it in the skies a lot of times and showing up on the radar as well. Oftentimes I'll break out my radar on my phone and I'll just be like, wow, look at all those boundaries around.
I know. All right.
From outflow to an olfactory influx after it rains.
Yeah, time to sniff out what that smell is after drops fall and introduce you to something called